transported in my Hampshire kitchen into something I can't get enough of.
You've got this simple tomato soup that you've made out of a can, and it actually tastes so much better than conventional soup out of a can as well.
And to top it all off, leftover double cream churned into butter for the ultimate in garlic bread.
Store cupboard food never used to look like that in my house. It really is fantastic, and it is one of the store cupboard essentials I think that everybody should have. Tinned tomatoes, you can transform them into so many different things, but when you're out there buying them, look out for the word San Marzano, because in this, it makes all the difference. It's great, that.
Whether it's tinned Italian tomatoes or something completely original appearing on our shelves, new foods are popping up everywhere, thanks to the work of a hidden army of passionate, home-based food producers. Their homemade delicacies are playing a key role in putting better food on our tables. The rolling green hills and warm sunny climate of the Isle of Wight are famous for producing everything from garlic to grapes. But there's a food producer who's brought a little taste of Africa to this idyllic landscape. At Newen Farm, Zimbabwean Nick Grief and his English wife Sarah are producing an exotic South African store cupboard staple that's winning awards, Biltong.
Biltong's the most important food to my husband. He couldn't live without it.
I love biltong so much. I have it in the morning for breakfast. I snack throughout the day. I even have it, if I'm allowed to, as put in after meals.
So we figured the only way for him to survive in England was to make it ourselves.
Biltong is almost unheard of on these shores, and Nick thought the examples he did find were terrible. So to cater for his obsession, they set up a company and started making their own to a traditional recipe. But what exactly is it?
What it actually is air-cured meat.
Air-curing meat was a great way to preserve it before the days of refrigeration and gives it a distinctive taste. It works particularly well in hot, dry climates, and Nick's tradition goes right back to his ancestors' store cupboards.
My family was part of the four-tracker movement that came from the Cape, moving into the interior of Africa in the 1860s, and their way of keeping meat fresh without refrigeration was to cut it up and hang it. My earliest memories of biltong was standing on a stool next to the kitchen table, laying out the meat or spicing it with my grandfather on our cattle ranch in Zimbabwe.
So does Sarah share her husband's love of biltong?
My guilty secret is I'd never eaten it, because actually I'm vegetarian.
Of course, the meat available in Zimbabwe is a different world to the Isle of Wight.
Originally we'd use every animal from elephant, buffalo, impala, whatever you were lucky enough to come across, you could get a shot at them. We use beef today, and quite a lot of people prefer beef biltong. The way we're going to make it today is as close to traditional making biltong that we could do. This flavour is pepper flavour. It is one of my favourites. It is the original biltong, and one that my grandfather showed me many years ago.
After 4 hours soaking up the flavours of the pepper, Nick dips the beef in vinegar, which aids the curing process and helps preserve it better in our damper climate. It's then hung up to dry for 4 to 6 days.
We created this drying room to replicate the temperature and atmosphere of Africa, which, as you can see, dries out the biltong to perfection. Bite into a piece of dry biltong, suddenly the taste of the beef starts to shine through. The spices that you use should just be a hint in the background. The taste of biltong is something most people wouldn't have experienced in life before.
And at a shop specialising in Isle of Wight produce, Nick and Sarah try out their biltong on the locals.
That's good.
It does taste like beef more than anything. You can really taste the meat, and it's like good quality beef.
You get that lovely meaty taste and the herbs that go with it.
It's actually very nice to have something made on the Isle of Wight that doesn't include garlic as a sole ingredient.
Big improvement to peanuts.
To go out and get a reaction and for people to say, no, we love it, keep making it, is just fantastic.
It's lovely to be making a product that is part of our heritage and to bring it into a new culture and introduce it to people who appreciate it as much as I do.
Sharing food with friends and family or a whole new crowd is what I've always loved. And the next dish is what I would call part of my culinary heritage. White chocolate and whiskey bread and butter pudding with honeycomb foam and whiskey ice cream. Created from the contents of my cupboard, this is a show-stopping dish that always leaves people wanting more.
Now, I'm quite fortunate to have plenty of stuff in my store cupboard, including white chocolate, a bit of whiskey and a few vanilla pods. This is a dish that's never been off my restaurant menu, and it's really a fallback dish that I always cook at home. So we want 4 decent sort of size croissants, like that. There's always a little bit there, left over as well.
Like all good bread and butter puddings, a handful of sultanas from the store cupboard are followed by a liberal sprinkling of, yes, you guessed it, butter.
And now for our custard. And for that, this is where we start to get a little bit serious. Not this much double cream, but not far off. So we need half double cream to milk. And then going to infuse that with vanilla.
Scrape out the vanilla seeds and add along with the pods into the rich, creamy milk. Now for the eggs to make the all-important vanilla custard.
Traditionally, really, you'd use about 6 whole eggs to set a litre of liquid, which this is, but I'm going to use a mixture of whole eggs and egg yolks.
By using 6 egg yolks and 3 whole eggs, this pudding will have more of a sauce and a slightly lighter texture. With the milk and the cream nicely warming through, I add 200 grams of caster sugar to the eggs and whisk.
I can't tell you how many times I've made this pudding. It all came about via a mistake. It was when I was the pastry chef of Mr. Anthony Wall Thompson in one of his restaurants. And good old Anthony, instead of ordering sort of 3 dozen croissants, 33 dozen croissants turned up one day, and I had to use them all up. And this was a recipe sort of that we both sort of invented, really. Everybody seems to love it. And it's only until after they've eaten it, you tell them exactly how many calories are in it.
Maybe it's the not 1, not 2, but 3 bars of white chocolate that people love, mixed into cream and vanilla-infused milk.
Take it off the heat now, because otherwise that chocolate is going to burn to the bottom of our pan. So give it a quick mix and make sure they're all combined. And then what we do is we pour this mixture onto the egg yolks. Whisk this together. And now you throw in the whiskey. Just a little bit more. Give it a little taste. Do you know, it's time like this where I could stop now, don't even put that in there, and just get a straw and drink this. It's so good. It's delicious, is this.
Tempting it may be, but with a hungry crew to feed, I need to pour this mixture into the croissants and leave it to soak for about 15 minutes. This is one of those puds that's a real treat, and I like to elevate it even higher with the addition of a nice dollop of homemade whiskey ice cream.
This is 400 mils of double cream gone in here, about 100 mils of milk, a little bit of vanilla. So what we're going to do is just warm up the vanilla and the cream, and then we take almost the same combination of ingredients.
6 egg yolks, 100 grams of caster sugar, whisk together, and then mix the cream and the milk just like a custard.
Now, conventionally, of course, ice cream would be made in exactly the same way and then churned in an ice cream machine, which you can do at home. Ice cream machines are becoming more and more popular, but I've got one of these fancy gadgets now that enables you to do ice cream in a slightly different way.
With the eggs and cream combined, add a good dash of whiskey